Before the break, we asked who was the first person the Met Police pursued with official police dogs. We gave you Dick Turpin, Guy Fawkes, Jack the Ripper. The answer is Jack the Ripper. Welcome back. We're live on 5 with Lin and Andy. Later we'll debate whether we should give Prince Andrew 2 royal homes to persuade him to move out of Royal Lodge. First, is Labour to blame for the accidental release of a migrant from prison that led to a manhunt this weekend? 020 7862 2222. Hadush Kebatu was due to be deported, but he was mistakenly set free by prison staff on Friday. He was reportedly confused and didn't send off from prison until staff directed him to the nearest train station. The father of the 14-year-old girl he was convicted of sexually assaulted said, "I feel massively let down and infuriated by HMP Chelmsford, the police, the justice system and our Labour government." The Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch laid the blame squarely with the government, saying Kebatu was released because the entire system is collapsing under Labour. So let me just show you very quickly here a little timeline involving Hadush Kebatu. So let's just bring his picture up here. So here he is. This is the actual police mugshot here. And we'll just play it if we can, and we'll see. From Ethiopia, we'll see how this worked going right back to June. So June, July, August, September, October are the dates. October, this weekend, is the weekend he managed to get out of prison and get recaptured. June is when he arrived. So very, very broadly, we arrived in June, the journey from Ethiopia via Sudan, Italy, France, and then a dinghy. The offences against 2 women and the arrest, the trial here found guilty, the verdict and the sentence 12 months, and then his accidental release this last weekend, and it just blows your mind. It just blows your mind, Lynn.
How do you accidentally release someone who has a 12-month sentence, who is such a high-profiled individual with the case, with what it was, and it blows my mind how this has happened. But can we directly blame Labour? Now, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, who's in charge of this department, said it's not yet fit for purpose. She said this before.
They always say that. They've said it 20 years ago.
I know, but then it's like we can't even... Who do we blame? Because prior to that, under Conservatives, it was Suella Braverman, who loves to talk about migrants, and you'd think the system would be better under her tenure. Then it was James Cleverly, again, a lot of immigration conversation, and then Labour. But then, knowing the state it was in, Labour have said that constantly criticising the Conservative Party. Why wasn't this at the top of their agenda to fix?
But do you blame government for it? That's the thing I don't understand.
I think you'd have to have an IQ lower than your shoe size to think that Shabana Mahmood or Keir Starmer's standing with a clipboard at the front of every prison,
but it's still
saying,
under
"Oh,
their
could we just make sure that actually this person should be?" You know, I mean, it's just absurd to blame the politicians. What we have is a broken bureaucracy, and the politicians should have the power to hold them to account. The people who are mandarins actually working behind the scenes, running the stuff. But we've seen on so many issues they don't have that power anymore. They're just like talismanic puppet figures, politicians these days. And I've lost any faith in any party. We'll see it if reform, and it's a big if, I don't think they will, but if reform win the next general election, we will see exactly how much power politicians have to affect real change. None.
But they come into these spaces and say, we are going to be the change. We are going to, ensure that these departments are running better. You decide to be Home Secretary.
Well, they say that.
She's a barrister. It's been her dream to be in this position. Prior to that, others, if you're going to take that position, it's like CEOs of company. Yes, you're not running around making cups of tea, but you take the risk, you take the responsibility and the accountability if that company fails.
OK, I'll mention this. I said he was sentenced to 12 months in prison, and it's worth us just going through some of the details. He was set for deportation when the prison staff accidentally set him free on Friday. They directed him to the train station. He made his way to London. There was then some footage on social media of him in Chelmsford on Friday. So you'll see, just as it swerves around, you'll see him there, just behind the guy in black. He's the guy in the grey tracksuit there. So he doesn't look that furtive, does he? He's standing out and about in the high street. He may not even realise that he shouldn't have been released from prison. So then he
doesn't know what to do with himself.
He doesn't know what to do with himself. You can see he's just kind of putting his hand up and scratching his head, and then he wanders off with his shopping. He was next spotted in a library in Dalston in London later on Friday. So there he is, very recognisable in the grey clothes. and he wasn't seen again until he was arrested in Finsbury Park on Sunday morning. This is the arrest here. You can see the officers talking to him, and he willingly goes with them. So he's just in the distance there.
Well, there's two extraordinary details here that really stuck out to me. Is first of all, during his trial, he said, "Deport me. I want to be deported." First of all, which haven't heard very much in the reportage since. And when he was let out mistakenly, he tried to get back in, and they wouldn't let him.
Into prison? This is the bizarre thing.
He tried to get back in because he knew it was wrong. The guy himself knew it was wrong.
I'm not a fan of, we have not had before.
I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories, but even I'm like, there's something suspicious here. Like, did someone have some sort of weird agenda and they let him out on purpose for some sort of reason?
He wants to bring the government, because it could bring the government down, this stuff.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have taken one person. I just think even with saying he was directed to a train station, was he supposed to get the train back to Ethiopia? Like, a person like this is going to have to be signposted. You don't just release a prisoner, especially one who doesn't have many connections to the country. So he would have been signposted to probation. Where would he even get £10 to get on the train?
Yeah, but also, we've just seen the case of the Iranian guy who was sent to France on the one in, one out thing, and he then comes straight back here. So deporting is a bit of a elastic band sometimes. Paul in Cardiff, is this down to the government, or is this just sort of a local matter for the prison?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, how can he only have a conviction of 12 months when he's done something to 2 women? I don't agree with that, first of all.
Yeah, I'm not going to make any excuses for him, but the court decided that based on the way he behaved with those 2 women, 12 months in prison was the right sentence. So, I mean, he was trying to touch them and kiss them and everything against their will, so it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it is. And Conservatives weren't going to stop him coming in, and neither is Starmer. If they hadn't have allowed people in, none of this would have been happening.
If he hadn't allowed people in to the country?
Yeah, they're illegal immigrants. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They haven't come from a war-torn country. They've come from France.
So what do you do when those boats arrive, Paul?
We're paying France £500 million a year.
Yeah, to do not much.
Yeah.
What do you do with the boat? Paul, we've come, this is always the rock which we hit in this discussion. What do you do when a boat arrives in Dover, a dinghy, and it's got kids on it? What do you do?
Well, they should put them in another boat and send them straight back.
Send them back to France. So the French then operate a tougher system than us. So when you approach the French coast, they'll probably push you back in this direction. So
yeah, I know it.
The problem with this situation, Paul, if I may, is that we're not humanising these people, talking about their personal circumstances. You just made a statement there that I put to you, Paul. You can't actually back up with fact. You don't know what their personal circumstances are or what they're fleeing. It might actually be serious concerns about their personal safety. Their family might have been murdered.
Why don't they stay in France?
They might be facing political assassination.
Why don't they stay in France?
Why don't they stay in France? Well, then France has got a problem too. We live in a host of nations.
But you're not fleeing a war if you're coming from France.
Where we take a certain degree of responsibility for the fact that there are wars happening all around the world and that some people do want to take refuge in our country. Okay. And that was something we used to be proud of.
All right, Paul, thank you. Sylvia in Durham, hi.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy.
Do we blame the Labour government for this mess over the weekend?
Well, the Labour government, the Conservative government, they're all as bad as each other. I mean, the way they behave, they're worse than children in a kindergarten. But this man... I don't believe that he just walked out of prison. I think there's something went on there. He was allowed to walk out. He raped a young girl at 14 and a lady.
I don't think he raped her. He sexually assaulted her, just to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
He sexually abused her.
Yeah.
He should not be allowed to go back to his own country. He should be put in prison and kept there until he's served his time, because that's the only way this young girl... 14 she is going to be able to say, well, at least he's getting punished for what he's done.
Well, yeah, is the deportation happening now, or is it happening at the end of his sentence?
He should have served...
He's got to serve his sentence.
Serve the sentence, then be deported.
Well, they're saying he's going to be deported this week.
No, it said...
Yeah, so he's been deported this week, so he would not have served his sentence by that stage. I mean, he's obviously a danger because he only arrived in June and he's attacking people in July, getting imprisoned in August, and then turning up on the same high street where he was offending
But
in October.
But this is the problem. When they come in on the boats, we don't know anything about them. We don't know anything about what would they constitute in their country as acceptable behaviour. They're just not all, but they're just coming here. We know many of these countries, there are a lot of crimes against women that go unpunished. So they come to this country and think we can behave in the same way towards young girls and women as we do back in our country. And that's why we have to be more careful who we let in the country.
All right, Sylvia, thank you. After the break, we'll take more calls on this. Is Labour to blame for the freed migrant fiasco over the weekend? 020 7862 2222. See you shortly. Before the break, we asked which Rolling Stones song has been used the most in Martin Scorsese films. We gave you Paint It Black, Sympathy for the Devil and Gimme Shelter. It's got to be Gimme Shelter, hasn't it? It appears in Goodfellas, Casino and The Departed. That is a great quiz question, whoever wrote that. And you know that song?
No.
I don't know that song. It's awful,
Give us a
isn't it?
quick.
I'll give you a quick thing. We'll probably have to
Shazam it.
pay for it. War, children, it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away.
Still don't know.
Actually, that's okay because those weren't the notes. Later we'll be asking whether it's time to scrap fines for taking your kids out of school during term time. Now, more of your calls on the freed migrant fiasco. Do you think Labour is to blame for Hadush Kebatu being freed accidentally on Friday, as Kemi Badenoch suggested? 020 7862 2222. So I'm going backwards and forwards on my Badenoch. It's where are we? We're Badenoch. We're Badenoch, aren't we, I think?
I thought we were Badenoch.
Oh, Badenoch, OK. Leonard in Cheshire, hello.
Hello. Why can't the government, now they've got the technology, employ handprints and biometric systems for the worst offenders, such as murder, sex offenders, child abuse, that type of thing?
And what? Yeah, but you still need boots on the ground to capture the guy, right? So in the end, he's walking through a park, and there's two officers.
If he's in before his release, when they're doing the checks, he's got to face the biometric check.
Well, he will have had his fingerprints taken and things.
This wasn't accidental identity. They knew who they were releasing.
It's basically, it sounds to me like a job's worth of some sort, who's just, he's in the last bit of the prison and he thinks, I can't be bothered. I realise it's a mistake. I'm going to let him out. They have suspended someone as well. So
it just stretches credulity almost to the point of breaking for me.
Like your
is it
conspiracy
actually
theory
possible that probably the most high-profile prisoner being released is just let out?
I'm with you. I don't really like to subscribe to conspiracy theories, but how with these situations, they would have a high-profile list of prisoners in the media, and then it would have taken, the four eyes.
You've got to ask yourself with Shabana Mahmood or Keir Starmer, and I'm kind of going back a little bit what I said before, which seems to be my thing today. But if you would have him on a list in your diary on your phone and go, okay, this guy's being let out around that time. Can we just make sure that this is handled well? I mean,
the governor of the prison must have been asleep at the wheel here, because surely he, she has got to be thinking. There's certain key prisons. I mean, you wouldn't, for example, someone lets out Rose West by accident. That's a complete disaster. But I don't understand what the difference is, really, between any prisoner who should be in prison being let out before their time. It could be anybody.
I saw an interview with a former prison, but what's the term?
Convict.
Person in charge.
Oh, governor.
Governor, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I am a former prison governor and I don't understand this. I don't think this makes any sense. I cannot imagine
all right,
how
boys,
this has happened.
Let's not go on about a conspiracy theory, but we've obviously got one that's brewing here, which is that someone somewhere wanted to, what's the phrase, shark the government with this, basically. They put the guy on the street and they just stand back and watch the fun. Thank you, Leonard. Margaret in Edinburgh, hello. Hey, Margaret.
Oh, hi, sorry.
That's all right, were you busy?
Yeah, I was making a coffee, sorry.
Oh, that's all right, it's a good reason to delay. So what would you like to say then, Margaret?
Well, the way I do blame Labour, and I would blame every other party prior to Labour, the reason being is they come on with promises to all the public for the support, and they request us, to support. They're going to increase the prison services, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Now, we all know that the prison services, they're not functioning. They're not fit for purpose. And shouldn't they be focused on that? Because how many people have come out of prison and have committed a serious crime? And I know your panels are saying that he's not a high risk, but you don't know that.
No, I don't think we're saying that. We, his offending was at a lower level than some others, but obviously
Still horrific, though.
If he arrives in Britain wanting to stay and the first thing he does is sexually assault somebody, that shows catastrophic bad intentions. But
yeah.
How do you think it happened, Margaret? Or who's to blame? That's the thing. Is it Labour? Have Labour got to take responsibility here?
Well, yes, because first of all, everyone knows. We know. The public knows. We're all aware of it. Sorry, there's a delay. There was a delay there. Sorry. The public knows. We know how bad the prison systems are. We read about it. We see it. We all know that. So the first thing they should be doing is trying to mend a broken system. They should be trying to do that. That should be their one and top priority. Then we might see less murders. We might see less crime. They just need to fix the problem. And that's the problem.
Thank you, Margaret. Got to say, the government has now ordered prison governors to carry out new procedures. Extra checks will be carried out in prisons across England and Wales from today. Senior prison staff told the BBC that's just going to increase workload and put more pressure on a system already struggling to cope. And it's a good point, isn't it? Because there is already a check. Is this guy's sentence finished? No.
Yeah. You'd think that would already be a check.
You think so?
Yeah. Do we send this guy to the local train station?
There's extra checks now.
Yeah.
So that's him being arrested or taken in. Do you remember I said it in the park?
He's got some new clothes, hasn't
he? He's on the far end. He's got the jeans and that black cagoule, and he's starting to cover his face. So, and the police. It's a big old job for the police, this, isn't it? In lots of ways. You can see how this one individual arrives in the country, has to be arrested, has to be put through the system. That's all police time. Has to be tried, has to be jailed, then gets released. Then they have to find him again. It's a lot, Andy, isn't it? Doesn't it make you think that we've got to sort this out?
I heard this on the news and I just thought, is our entire country just an episode of Fawlty Towers now? Is that what we've become? I thought, I'm not even surprised by this anymore.
Because of the
ineptitude and the kind of the farcical nature of it all. It just seems to me that actually what this is born of is probably people who are just really bad at their jobs, actually. And
that's the entire country. You had a brilliant conspiracy theory
bad at their jobs.
Well, now you're just saying
One is that, yes, they wanted to damage the government. The other is that there's some sort of incitement towards civil unrest that is part of the kind of the bigger grand scheme of
government. But being bad at their jobs, that's just routine.
But actually, with all conspiracy theories, the truth is that behind it is ineptitude. And that's what we're at a point now. But I don't think it's Keir Starmer or Shabana Mahmood's
Okay, that's
fault.
the key thing. Because back in the day, and I looked this up earlier, 20 years ago, Charles Clarke was Tony Blair's Home Secretary, I think. And there was a massive release. They realised that they'd let out foreign prisoners who committed offences were supposed to be deported on release. And loads of them were just let out and then they'd vanished. And he had to resign. The reason I remember it is he came out with a brilliant line. He said, I'm the one who caused this mess, so I'm in the best position to sort it out. That was to try and save his job. Anyway, he resigned. So it's very much this sort of thing of, if you've got to deport someone, you've got to be on them when they leave jail. You can't just put on a bus. Thank you. Alison in Essex, hi.
Hiya. Hi.
So, what do you think of this? Is it Labour's fault?
Definitely, 100%. There's nobody else you can blame. It's our government. If he hadn't been too busy filling up the prisons with people doing silly meets and tweets, we'd still have space. And I actually live 15 minutes away from the prison, and I saw that gentleman in the high street on Friday.
No.
So this is shocking to think that he walked past me and my kids.
Well, also for the victim, it's then you're thinking, is he going to come round? Or, all of that's scary. So, I take your point, but I mean, go on.
He got arrested, as we said, but it wasn't the police who found him, if you read it. It was a member of the public out walking their dog.
Yeah. They were all recognising him. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's the whole there they are, and that's when he's apprehended and the police move in, and Finsbury Park in London. So he'd moved a little while since then. The problem for Keir Starmer, I think, is that this was in June, this guy arrived on a small boat, and he said we're going to end the small boats by smashing the gangs.
I know.
And I know everyone's sort of
It's just
bought
sayings,
it. But
isn't it? It's just hot air
you've got to be, by this stage, you've got to have fewer people coming in, and there's actually more. Alison, thank you. Thanks for all your calls on this. Later we'll be asking whether fines for taking your children out of school during term time need to be scrapped. After the break, we'll debate whether we should grant Prince Andrew's wish for him and his ex-wife to be given a royal property each, so that he then gets out of the big one, Royal Lodge.